And a pleasant good evening to you and yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network. Alan Slaughterzinski with you here this evening. And, I tell you, for the third time in less than 10 days, a coaching vacancy has opened up in Brevard County. And of course, they all sting. But to me, this one stings a little tighter, and that's because it's Corey Broomfield down at Bayside High School. I've gotten to become extremely close with Coach Broom, and I can tell you right now that I said in the article that I wrote that this entire match with Corey and Bayside, it fit like a glove. The guy lives 5 minutes from there. He's an alum there. He played there. Him and his brother played there. They starred there. They went on to play for D1 P5 schools out of Bayside. Essentially part of a program in a period of time that put Bayside on the map. They leave. He comes back. He takes over the program. It had gone 1-30 prior to his arrival, and today he steps down to take a position with LEESBURG. But far be it for me to explain to you his circumstances and why he decided to step down. Let me bring on the man I'm sorry to see go. I really, really am. Mr. Corey Broomfield. Corey, first of all, welcome to Brevard Sports Network. Thanks for doing this here tonight. Love the signal. Sir. You actually do have a cell tower down there in the south part of the county, don't you? Corey, the floor is yours, my man. You stepped down today. I think it shocked a lot of people. Talk about it, and then I'll ask you questions.
Well, Gotcha. Well, first thing I want to say thank you before I get into it. I want to say thank you to Ms. Wybelt. She actually hired me when I first got the job there. She left after her first year and she went and joined the district. And then I got Ms. Zander. And I want to thank you, Coach Sherrill, as well. My athletic director, he hired me and he's been there the whole time. And pretty much in Brevard County, my admin, they've been great in allowing me to do the things that I wanted to do, but because of how the county is set up and the way things are aligned, there are certain stressors that a lot of people don't understand that hinders a coach to build a program the way they want. I give you a prime example. I was able to hire two very good coaches at different points in my career here at Bayside. One of them being Lacey Hill, great offensive mind.
Yeah.
Another one being I forgot Vogt first name. But anyway, Coach Vogt, a guy that's written books on football. He was actually on staff on campus at one point, and both of those guys were pushed out due to numbers and tenured teachers. But when you have those type of coaches and you're able to get them on campus and they have to be pushed out due to tenure or due to other reasons, it makes it very hard to build and sustain a program. I remember when I was in high school, my gym had 8 football coaches in it. I remember Coach Davis, Coach Reynolds, Coach Short, Coach the Rignan twin. It was just different in Brevard County. Right now at Bayside, we have 3 PE teachers and one of them is coaching at the high school. So that makes it very hard. Support as far as like hall monitors and campus security and paraprofessionals, those positions really don't exist here in Brevard like they do in other places. So a lot of things as a head football coach, the pay. We all know the pay here in Florida, especially in Brevard. Mr. Ramjet did a great job since he's been here working to increase that, and I thank him for that, and I pray he continues to fight that fight for us coaches. But I'll give you an example. I had a first-year coach this year, and he came up to me at the end of the season like, "Coach, is this the stipend?" And I had to explain to him. Now, this is the same coach that shows up every day for practice. He did the laundry. He broke down the film. He did everything we asked him to do. And when he saw his $1,400 stipend, he's like, "Coach, is this what I've been doing all this for? I love it, but is this what?" And I had to explain, "Hey, this is what we do it for. We do it for the kids, and you do it for what you'll get paid down the line, hopefully, as you move up the ranks as a coach." But I got a buddy, first year coach. He's an assistant basketball coach in Texas. He teaches 4 classes. He's off 3. He has 2 activity periods, and he's making $75,000 as a first year educator because of the way they do things in these other states. And as long as other states are doing things like this, it's going to be hard to keep the coaches that have aspirations for better things. Luckily, I've been blessed to when I got the job, I was able to move in with my parents for 6 months and save up some money to be able to afford a house. That was under $200,000 at that time. This same house now is over 350. So I can't imagine the next young coach that comes. How are they going to afford a $350,000 house that could comfortably fit a 4 or 5 household family? So those types of things are stressors, not only on the coaches but on the admin and being able to bring in quality coaches. So it's a lot of different stressors and things that are going to make this thing difficult. And hopefully we can get it fixed. But until then, we're going to continue to see good coaches leave the county and leave the state to just be able to afford and support their families.
For the second
Unfortunately,
consecutive year, Corey, we lose a coach that was born, bred, raised, played, developed, in this county.
yep,
Derek Smith last year, he's off to Georgia. Georgia, one of those states, thriving up there. You, and of course, as you said, Dr. Ramjet doing a terrific job. In fact, Dr. Ramjet, I mean, if we're telling truths here, I don't expect next year at this time to have Dr. Ramjet here in
right.
Brevard County unless he's the school superintendent, which I know that job he's got a tremendous interest in, and I think he'd make a terrific school superintendent. A lot of people are afraid of change, Corey. So let me
Yep.
ask you this: what is the very first thing aside from pay? Because pay is
Hmm.
always the thing that has to increase with any job, but especially with what you guys. Aside
Right.
from pay, what needs to change right now for this to at least get a foothold on this issue?
The first thing we have to do is I heard what Coach Smith. I heard an interview you did with Coach Smith earlier, and it's the ability to have the feeder schools work with the high schools to where these coaches are tied in to the high school, and physical education positions should be attached to sports positions. There's no way anybody should be able to hold a physical education. Not that they can't teach health or they can do hope, but PE positions, you should be coaching a sport. If not, we're going to continue to resort on and rely on community coaches, which is nothing wrong with it, but it's not fair to them.
But
These guys are being asked.
I don't mean to cut you off, but it is important to have coaches in the schools, right?
If it's important to you, I give you an example. When I was in Tallahassee in Leon County, my first position was a hall monitor. And I rode around on a golf cart and I made sure the kids got in the hallways and I met teachers and I met the students. And I built relationships with a lot of different students, with a lot of different people. And I kept a lot of kids out of trouble from doing that. So when I became a teacher, it wasn't somebody that was foreign that was a teacher. It was somebody that was already on campus, that was already working, so on and so forth. The biggest thing is these kids now, we have mental health days, we have mental health lessons every week, but we don't give them mentors and we don't give them support that they could have day in and day out by providing their mentors to be their teachers, which are their coaches. By not allowing those coaches to be in the building for all day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, those relationships are immense. I remember my first year at Bayside. My algebra teacher was my freshman football coach, Coach Tolley, And because he was my coach, he took a little bit extra time to make sure I understood and what was going on. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have no teachers that are coaches in the building, it creates a stress on the players. It creates a stress on the students, on the parents, everything. Because you never know which coach is going to connect with which player. And the more interactions they have with each other by being on campus, you never know which student, which life you can turn around. But we won't know that until we have those interactions happening by having more teachers that are coaches on campus.
Athletics is a direct, um, you know, for student athletes, Corey, it is for a lot of them, and I would say a large percentage of them, it is a way of life. It is a way out, okay?
Yep.
And then what was the reaction? Because I know, and I have to ask this question.
Yep.
You know, last week or 2 weeks ago, the new Brevard County Public School Board fired Superintendent Dr. Mullins. And then about 8 days later, there was a press conference in front of the Brevard County Jail with Sheriff Wayne Ivey and talking about new school discipline. And when you talk about new school discipline, doesn't a lot of this tie into athletics, Corey? And
Absolutely.
please talk about that.
So you hit a great point. You hit a great point. When I was in school, when I was in school, we had a lot of teachers that were coaches. And a lot of teachers, guess what? When their students are not acting right, I get a lot of emails. So how would that affect if now you don't have to reach to that one coach? You can reach to that teacher that's right beside you to discipline those students. And guess what? 10 times out of 10, not 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, when Coach Broomfield gets the email, when Coach Eves gets the email, and we address it, the problem is solved. So why, instead of trying to bring more police into the school, instead of trying to allocate funds for more discipline, allocate funds for this hall pass system, or how about we hire those same people that are at the school from 4 p.m. to 11, 12 o'clock most nights, that traveling across the state, all practicing every day. How about we bring those guys into the building and educate our student athletes as well? Because we all know most of the times the student athletes have a higher GPA than the normal student population. That's not that's not fake. That is real. Why? Because they have a reason to get better grades. I know when I took over, those kids' grades took off. Michael Parks is going to sign a scholarship to Iowa State on December the 21st. His first semester, he was ineligible. I said, listen, if you don't get your grades right, college is not an option. He's been a 3.0 student ever since, and he's going to go to college. Now, I'm pretty sure if the English teacher told him that you may not have an opportunity to go to college if if you don't get
Right?
certain,
No.
it
Right.
may not have changed. But because he wanted to go play college football, it resonated with him, and he was able to change. And now he's going to be able to fulfill his dream.
You
But
know, student athletes today are being torn in so many different directions. There's NIL, there's name, image, and likeness. And I don't know that a lot of people understand, Corey, that name, image, and likeness is legal in high school in 12
yep,
states, Louisiana being one of them. Okay?
yeah,
So these kids can make money on their name, image, and likeness. So now, more than ever, coach, it's important to have mentors in these student athletes' lives. And it seems as though we're doing away with these mentors. Okay, so we need to get that issue corrected. Outside of that, Corey, what else needs to change? Because you're really hitting some nerves here.
yep. So that's one aspect. The next aspect that needs to change to help our student athletes and to help our coaches in Brevard County is anywhere else. When you go to Georgia, they have an activity hour. When you go to Texas, they have an activity hour. Florida At most schools, they do not have an activity hour for their athletes. What do I mean by that? When I was in Mississippi, because I went to school to be an educator, I had to do an internship. And my student internship, I had the greatest schedule ever. I interned with the high school basketball coach, and they did a block schedule. So they had 4 periods. The first 2 periods, he had his regular PE. The next 2 periods, he had all his basketball players, and he had practice during school. And he was done with his day at 1 o'clock because of how they did their schedule. Now, you might say, well, how does that help? Okay, well, now these students have a reason to be in school. And on top of that, now, guess what? When school's over, they can get on the bus and go home.
Right.
They don't have to find a ride. They're not hanging out, vandalizing the school or hanging out with their girlfriend, getting into trouble. All of these things are taking place during the school hours. So now these coaches that are stressed, guess what? They just go to work. They don't have to stay after school from 4 o'clock to 7:30 for practice. Practice is done. The stress of the time it was priceless. I was like, dang, that was mind blowing. And then as I talk to other coaches, you go to clinics and you meet other coaches, and they do the same thing in their states. They practice during school. All of their staff is on campus, and it allows a lot of things to just flow a lot easier. But for some reason, in Florida, we feel like everybody has to be the same. We don't want to treat anybody special, treat anybody different. We're all here to get an education, and that's fine. But guess what? There's a beta building where you put the kids that are more academically inclined. There's a
Right.
chorus building where the kids go sing. There's a band office. But if I was to tell you that we need an athletic field house, that would be a problem. If I was to tell you we need to bring in more coaches to coach, that would be a problem. So instead of having a hands-off approach and treating athletics as if it's a bad thing, we should welcome it into our school system like every other state does, and not ostracize it and try to point fingers and make it as if it's a bad thing. Everybody knows sports is the number one correlation to dropout rate. If kids are in
Yep.
sports, they don't drop out. So
That's the truth.
so if you want to help the dropout rate, you would hire more coaches. You would have better facilities. You would do these things to help facilitate our kids and keep them off the streets, keep them inclined, keep them active, and keep them motivated. That's a great way we can do that.
It's funny because the sports dropout rate for girls is 6 times higher than it is for boys that don't play sports. Can you believe that?
Wow. Wow.
It's incredible, isn't it?
That's mind blowing.
That's from momsteam.com. Momsteam.com. I tell you, Corey, what advice would you give the Brevard County School Board as they get set to select a new superintendent? As I said, I know for a fact that Dr. Andrew Ramjeet has his sights. At least I know that he's applying for the job. But what advice would you offer the Brevard Public School Board as they search for a new superintendent? Listen, I know that Dr. Mullins did a lot of great things, but I think I only saw him at one, maybe or 2 or 3 sporting events tops. And I'm not criticizing Dr. Mullins for that. I just think that athletics, education is always going to be more important, Corey. It is. That's why student comes before athlete.
Right.
But athletics has got to be on some sort of a level par here because it is a catalyst to put kids at the next level. What advice would you offer the Brevard Public School Board in their search for a new superintendent?
Gotcha. Well, I would find somebody that's going to put our students first. That's the biggest thing. Make sure we put our students first, and make sure it's somebody that wants the position to make it better and innovate. You got to be able to change things and shake things up, and somebody that's a fearless leader, that's not a yes man and just going to do what everybody else says. So that's what I would say. I'm not a guru. I don't understand all the sophistications and the processes of being a superintendent. I'm not going to act like I do. I know those things come with a lot of strings attached. But if I was in that position, in any leadership position, you want somebody that's going to stick to their guns and do what's right for the kids and do what's right for the educators and
and
willing
have
to change if they need to.
and have some sort of an emphasis on athletics because again,
Absolutely.
it all correlates, and you don't
Yep.
have to go far to see how that matters. I mean, look, I get it, and I almost feel like, and I'm not just talking about here in Brevard County, I almost feel like the entire state of Florida, if you threw everybody in one bag, all the administrators and school boards in one bag, it's kind of like they take our student athletes for granted in that unless these kids go to a private school, they just simply feel like, well, you know what? Florida's always been known for having fantastic athletes. They'll get through. I mean, that's kind of the approach I see taken, and it bothers me because, let's use the Cocoa Tigers, for example.
Right.
They just got a new weight room, but that weight room had to come from Academy Sports, from ESPN, from donors around. You look at these weight rooms around the county, and I know again, I'm not criticizing it because this is just the way it is.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth, family. You got to speak the truth.
And that's what I'm trying to do here. Trying to be polite about it. But you look at these weight rooms, Corey, and it's like, my God, how have these programs been able to accomplish what they've accomplished working out in some of these weight rooms? It blows my mind. But yet I see some of these facilities, out of state, in communities that are no richer or poorer than the ones we live in here in Brevard, and I shake my head and I feel horrible for our student athletes, and in a lot of ways I feel horrible for our administrators because let's face it, Corey, the ones that are in place now didn't put us in the place we're currently in. They're just they're tasked with the job to get this fixed, and they're the ones that feel the pressure to get it done. So, all right, what else would you do here, Corey?
Well, I would get all the head coaches in a room and I would ask them what do they want. One thing I know about districts is districts have money and a lot of it. And you'll be surprised what they spend it on. And you'll be like, we spent how much on what? Well, I'll give you a prime example. Because I'm leaving. But right now, we're getting a brand new track, which is lovely. It's beautiful. But we have a grass football field. And as great as that track is, it's going to service one athletic team at a time. And that's what the track team. But we could have easily got a field, and that field could have serviced football. That field could have serviced men's soccer, women's soccer, lacrosse, and all the youth league Bayside team that we have, so on and so forth. But do they take into consideration of the high school? What do you guys want first? No, that doesn't happen. Those decisions are made for us, and we are the ones that are there day in and day out. So I would just hope that they would talk and communicate with the schools and the coaches and find out what's important with them. Also, another thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how other districts or states do it, but sports are allotted zero funds. I know Coach Smith hit on this as well. A lot of people don't understand this. Anybody that's known me or seen me the last 5 years, we fundraise and we fundraise a lot. Why do we do that? Because the football team does not get the concession stand. That goes to the band, a non-athletic entity. The parking goes to the NJROTC, which is not an athletic entity. The ticket sales, they go to athletics. They don't go to the football team. So we support all the non-profit athletic teams. So the football team, yeah, you're doing great. You sold out the stadium, but you're in the red. And why is that? Because you don't reap any of the benefits of you being able to pack the stands, of you being able to advertise and motivate the people, inspire them to come into the stadium. None of that money goes to you. So that's something that definitely needs to be addressed.
And you're not allowed to start a booster club, right?
No, you can't have a booster club. You can have a booster club, but it does come with strings attached.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes,
Because I know I asked a coach one time about trying to get funding for a playoff game, and I said, well, check with the booster club. And he said, Alan, we don't have a booster club.
Right,
And I said, so what, what do you mean? I said, this school's been around for 100 years. We don't have one.
Yep. So, and that's something that the district doesn't control, which is parent support. Now, at Bayside, I was fortunate this past year. Mr. Brett Eden and Mr. Steve Fritson, they stepped in. They saw a need and they fulfilled it. But out of 5 years here, I was able to accumulate that booster club my last year, and he saw the same struggles that I saw. The past 5 years. The parent support is very minimal, which is not a district issue. They can't control that, but those things they happen.
Is it fair to say, Corey, that wouldn't it be nice? And I'm just throwing this out there. Wouldn't it be nice if at some point in time, maybe the Brevard Public School Board said, you know what, let's have a meeting and let's bring the coaches in from all sports. Let's fill it up. Let's talk. Let's get some things out on the table. Let's have, to your knowledge, has anything like that ever been done?
Well, I've been here 5 years, and I haven't seen it happen. Maybe I missed the email. It might have went to spam. But I would love to see that. But the problem is they already know what's going to happen. Because
right.
most coaches are like myself. When you come from a different county, you come in and you like, hey, we did this here. We did this here. We did. And they're just like, well, that's good, but we don't do that here. And 4 or 5 years later, they're gone. And if you're a real good coach, you leave after 1 year.
Right. Well, I know that we've got, I know we recently got a new school board, and their first task was to look for a new superintendent. So, hopefully, I'm always a fan of change. I think people are scared of it, but I think in this case we have to have it in a lot of areas. And of course, I know people would be willing to advocate and do. And I always say this, Corey, and you know this, and I want to ask you this question. I know it breaks your heart to step down as the head coach there because of the ties to that community, what you mean to that community, who you are, what you've done there. So I know this breaks your heart. But, as I look at this, I want I just talk about that and how hard of a decision this was for you, and then I'll finish my point.
So this position, the head coach position, my friend sent it to me like 4 weeks ago. I was like, I'm not going up there. And then his friend ended up getting the job, and he was like, look, you need to come. It's a good situation. And I went, not even expecting it to be anything. I was like doing it more so as a favor. And the principal, the AD, the county people, they were pro sports. It was very odd. It was very odd. They were laying out their plans of what they want to do, and they wanted to be successful. And it was an opportunity to do something that I haven't been able to do where I'm at and where I was previously. And I said, you know what, I can't turn this opportunity down. And it was one of those situations that you're not going to get an opportunity to do this again. And if you're not, somebody else going to get it. And then, you always coulda, woulda, shoulda. I called a lot of coaches and I asked them, and they was like, look, if that's what you want to do, this is the opportunity to do it. I have been asking for certain things in my career of where I wanted to be, and this is a great avenue to get to where I want to be at.
Go ahead.
Yep.
No, keep going. No, keep. I'm looking at some of the comments here, and I do think that a lot of this stuff is, for example, like Danny Miller, he's put a lot of kids into college and puts out countless hours, but we only talk about band and Cocoa High School. Well, okay, I understand that. I know he was. He says I'm being facetious, by the way. Derek Smith, Palm Bay, Bayside, Vieira will always be in his blood. People, they're going to miss you, Coach. And I think it's a big blow to this county to lose a guy that was born and bred here, played here, grew up here, not only cut their teeth on the football fields here, but cut their teeth in the coaching world here. Would there ever be a day and time you'd ever consider coming back, or would these changes have to be made first?
Well, like I said, the good thing is my parents stay right down the street, and if Mr. Ramjic gets the job, I'm pretty sure coaches will be making 100,000, and they're gonna want me like Coach Ramjic. And if that happens, I will be back faster than you know it.
I hear you. Coach, you definitely took a program. If anybody took a program and is leaving it better than they found it, it's you. 1-30 in the 3 years previous, and it's the perfect example. That it's not that there weren't good football guys that came in to coach at Bayside. It's just they got frustrated a lot sooner than you have at this point. You stuck this out for 5 years. You put 19 wins on the board, and Corey, and I mean every coach I've ever talked to that played against a Bayside Bears team coached by you never had anything but outstanding things to say about your team and the way you coach. That's one tough SOB over there. His team will play. They'll play you for 4 quarters. It don't matter what this. When you hear that, and I'm not blowing smoke here, it's the truth. How does that make you feel?
Well, that lets me know that we lost a lot. But
What?
no, I mean that's one thing I told the kids when I took this job. I said, look, wins and losses going to come. I want to be physical, and we're going to play great defense, and we've been able to do that. Offensively, we weren't able to get to where I wanted to be offensively, but we played hard. I mean, we did the best that we could with the kids that we had. This past year, I really thought we would have been a lot better. My quarterback went down, things happened, but that's Bayside. Bayside is going to be a physical, hard-nosed kids that want to play football, and I really believe at Bayside, when you play great defense, you will have an opportunity to win a lot of games. Now, since I've been here, we got the short end of the stick with the schedule. We've been playing some of the hardest teams in the state. We ain't been in no cupcake districts or regions since I've been here. So that it is what it is. But that's Brevard football. I mean, and Coach Smith says it all the time. It doesn't get the credit that it should get. But we have some of the best football in the state year in and year out. You look at the region that we were in this year. We almost had 5 teams in the playoffs in our little region.
Yeah,
So
you just missed it, Coach. Before we let you go, there, you are sticking around, right? Right. Nothing's going to change. You're sticking around for the All-Star game, right?
I'm doing the All-Star game. I'm picking up where Coach Smith left off, but I always leave it better than I found it. So Coach Smith had the idea last year, but I'm
Yeah. Well, that's not hard considering he came up with all the planning and then took off. Go
yeah.
ahead. No, go ahead. So you're sticking around for that, right?
Yes, sir. I will be there. And So the real reason, I'm gonna tell you the real reason why I stepped down.
All right.
My good friend Coach Benson got the job at Heritage, and I said I can't stay here and beat the brakes off of him and get him fired. I said I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna give him a chance, an opportunity to be able to compete against Bayside. So that's what that was about. But me and him will be working together. You got Coach T-Rone, Coach Staples up there in the north, and I'm gonna try my one last chance to beat somebody in the north that's wearing yellow. I mean, wearing orange or light blue. So
I
I'm gonna be
got
there.
you. All right, I'm excited. Brevard Sports said we got 2 broadcasts that day. We're going to be on field level doing interviews and, of course, up in the broadcast booth. And Coach Smith and his lovely wife, Christine, are flying down from Georgia. Coach Smith's going to join us on the broadcast that night. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're very excited about it. Now, there was a venue change today from
Yes, sir.
or to Melbourne. So talk about the practices real quick when they begin
Good.
because there's people watching.
Good. So the All-Star game, the North-South All-Star game, is actually sponsored by Mr. Alan Slaughterzinski and Brevard Sports Network. We thank you for your contributions.
Yes, sir.
BSN Sports is actually, they've donated coaching gear. They've donated the uniforms. And the game will be at Melbourne High School. Practices will be the 13th, the 14th, the 19th, and the 20th. In the south end, the practices will take place at Melbourne High School. On the north end, it will take place at Vieira High School. So those practices will be from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock on those dates.
And we're going to be doing our media days on 2 separate days because there are practices at 2 separate places. Stay tuned to Brevard Sports Network for that, as we will have we'll have a tent set up. We'll have a table set up. We're going to be interviewing everybody. We're going to invite all the media outlets in to do the same as well. Coach, I'm going to put the spotlight on you here, and I know you don't like it, but you're going to get it anyway. Coach, congratulations on what you were able to do at your alma mater. Not a lot of people can come in and say they turned their alma mater around, but you did. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck at LEESBURG, and we'll be able to hug it out and all that good stuff here coming up at the All-Star game. But I'm going to leave the floor to you. Your final thoughts on all of this, Coach, all that we have discussed here tonight.
Gotcha. Final thoughts is I'm leaving Bayside with the only head coach to have currently beaten Palm Bay High School, our little brothers, Heritage High School, and Melbourne High School in the same season. And it will be done again. I will continue to be a supporter of Bayside, and good luck to the next coach, whoever that may be. Keep the kids there and you'll be fine. Coach them up, you'll be fine. But other than that, I appreciate all the support. Make sure y'all keep Alan Slaughter-Zinski in Brevard, because if he leaves, that would be sad. I mean, honestly, Alan, you do a great job. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. I see other counties, and nobody does the amount of coverage that you do. So the sponsors, anybody that sponsored Mr. Slaughter-Zinski, anybody that he reaches out, if he's reaching out to you, support him, because I grew up here in Brevard. We didn't have this type of coverage. I've coached in other counties. I look at other counties. They do not have the amount of coverage. They do not have the amount of support and spotlight that Brevard Sports Network puts on our athletes. He live streams our games for free. So, hey, I'm telling y'all, support it, because he's doing something that nobody else in the country is doing for all sports, not just football. You can click on any time of the day. You may see swimming, you may see Little League football, you may see basketball, volleyball, everything. So support him. Your dollars are going to good things.
Coach, I can't thank you enough. Love you, buddy.
And he didn't tell me to say that.
No, I didn't. I appreciate you. And listen, man, you have a great night. And thank you so much for taking time at what I first of all know was a difficult day. And thanks again, man. Really appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll wrap it up here tonight. I want to thank Coach Corey Broomfield and all of you out there. Coming up tomorrow night here on Brevard Sports Network. Tomorrow morning, I will be up at Cocoa High School. To find out for what, you'll have to tune in. That'll be at 9:30. So for Coach Corey Broomfield, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski here on the Brevard Sports Network. Have a great night, everybody. And as always, make it a sports night.